3D Mark Time Spy is something I begrudgingly feature in my mini PC reviews, mainly to have a nice, easy reference point for comparing systems against one another. I'm not a real fan of it, I don't think it's got much real-world meaning, but it's actually very useful.
Icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Popsicle, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3. Popsicle, icicle, testing. Okay, let's see what we're doing. Okay, hello everyone. I don't really have my camera on for reasons, but I wanted to do a quick stream on a few things. Have been bothering me, and also set up my Linux. So why Linux? Why Linux Mint? Pretty simple for me. I want a system that I can use simply, and also it's pretty cool. Like, see this? As people suggest Linux Mint, this is a good, why is it recommended? That's why I like Linux Mint. So right now, I've basically copied my entire world. Yeah, I've copied my entire world basically. And what I'm doing now is set up. When I'm done, I'm gonna boot into Linux and download and install everything. But while I'm getting some of these done, I wanted to talk about the fascinating leaks that have been going on in our formerly dear but no longer neighbor to the north.
Apple's MacBook Air is
This guy seemed like Apple.
one of the best-selling laptops in the world, and if anything, one of the most ubiquitous. You've seen one at a university, you've seen one at a coffee shop, and today we get another new MacBook Air. This is the MacBook Air M4, now upgraded with, as I just said, M4, their latest and greatest chip. Look at that. There's also
Yeah, the M4 is really hot right now. Fortunately, my Linux Mint with 1 gig of RAM can compete. I wonder what Dean Parker are doing.
pierced would be cool. I probably would never get it pierced because like I don't like piercings myself. Like I'm scared of them. Like getting them myself. My girlfriend has.
Well, yeah.
So that's
Same.
sinful.
Boom.
Okay, so only before it enters the womb. Okay, so do you think that women who have IUDs are murderers?
I don't. Can you explain to me a little bit of
Yeah,
what
an
that
IUD
is?
not only can it prevent fertilization, but it can also prevent implantation.
No, I wouldn't say so. Why do people get that? Is it because they have problems?
So it is like specifically birth control, right? They use it to
Oh.
prevent pregnancy, but not only can it prevent fertilization, but it can also prevent fertilized egg from implanting into the uterine wall.
Well, quite honestly, as long as the baby hasn't entered the state of being like made, you know what I
do you
mean?
mean
Like,
by made?
well,
Does
in
that
my
happen at
opinion,
conception?
I
Does
know
that
you
happen
don't
at
believe in
implantation?
God, but
What
I
is that?
believe like the baby is made in spirit, and God knows them before they're even.
Okay, so then you're just like taking a religious stance, right?
Yeah, right.
Where in the Bible does it say that abortion should be illegal?
It doesn't say that.
Okay, if it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that abortion should be illegal, why are you saying based upon your religion abortion should be illegal?
Because it's just immoral. Like, isn't
Why-
that?
But morality is predicated off of your religion, right? And not just
Yeah.
because something's immoral doesn't mean it should be illegal, right? Like Donald Trump has committed adultery. That's committing a violation of the Ten Commandments.
Yeah,
right?
but doesn't it also says in the Bible
sinful under
that
you.
God
Wait,
knows
hold on,
you?
let me finish my point. That's
Okay.
sinful under your view. Okay. So do you think
Donald
that should
Trump-
be illegal?
Raping? Is that what? Graping?
I'm
Is
talking
that
about
what you said?
cheating. I'm just referencing adultery right now. Do you know what adultery is?
Yeah, when you look at another woman.
No, it's
Sinfully?
cheating on your wife.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
So that's
Same.
sinful.
Boom.
Okay, so only before.
I want people to remember that. By the way, Donald the J's of Trump apparently has done not just one of those, but multiple of those. Also, he didn't just do one thing, right? He's actually so this guy when he comes on and says, "Oh, Donald Trump raping," he's actually done several other things. Covetousness, thou shalt not covet, and of course, adultery. That man's he's unfortunately a freak because he paid Stormy $100,000. That's crazy.
Enters the womb. Okay, so do you think that an option, but so it is like specifically birth control, right? They use it to
Oh.
prevent pregnancy, but not only can it prevent fertilization, but it can also prevent fertilized egg from implanting into the uterine wall.
Well, quite honestly, as long as the baby hasn't entered the state of being like made, you know what I
do you
mean?
mean
Like,
by made?
well,
does
in
that
my
happen at
opinion,
conception?
I
Does
know
that
you
happen
don't
at
believe in
implantation?
God, but
What
I
is that?
believe like the baby is made in spirit, and God knows them before they're even.
Okay, so then you're just like taking a religious stance, right?
Yeah, right.
Where in the Bible does it say that abortion should be illegal?
It doesn't say that.
Okay, if it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that abortion should be illegal, why are you saying based upon your religion abortion should be illegal?
Because it's just immoral. Like, isn't
Why-
that?
But morality is predicated off of your religion, right? And not just because something's immoral doesn't mean it should be illegal, right? Like Donald Trump has committed adultery. That's committing a violation of the Ten Commandments.
Yeah,
right?
but doesn't it also says in the
sinful
Bible
under
that
you.
God
Wait,
knows
hold on,
you?
let me finish my point. That's sinful under your view. Okay. So do you think
Donald
that should be
Trump-
illegal?
Raping? Is that what? Graping?
I'm
Is
talking
that
about
what you said?
cheating. I'm just referencing adultery right now. Do you know what adultery is?
Yeah, when you look at another woman.
No, it's
Sinfully?
cheating on your wife.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
So that's
Same.
sinful
Okay.
under the eyes of Christianity. That's a violation of the Ten Commandments, just as murder, right? Do you think it should be illegal? Do you think people should go to prison for it?
For adultery, no. I mean, times have changed. Maybe back in that day, people did. I'm pretty sure. So, but
Okay.
in this
So
day,
then,
like the Old
so then you don't
Testament
think
days-
that just because something's illegal, immoral, it should be illegal?
I don't think that it should be illegal to get an abortion necessarily. It's just the people that do it at mass quantities. It's crazy.
Why
think about it.
why
when
should it be
people-
illegal?
Because when as a form of birth control, it's messed up. You know what I mean? I understand when people need to get it for certain reasons, but like if you're just willy nilly and you're getting abortions every single time you have a baby, it's messed up in my opinion. And a lot of those kids could
Why?
have grown up and been,
Why?
the next president or the next Elon Musk.
Who's getting mass quantity
You know, you
abortions?
never know.
Who can afford abortions in mass quantity? Do you know how expensive?
This guy just said people are just willy nilly, just executing willy nilly. This was This looks like a silly thing to say.
Has it been abortionist?
No, I thought it was paid for by the state.
No, the fucking state is not. There's something called the Hyde Amendment, which restricts the federal government from using any type of government resources to pay for abortions.
Okay.
Susan, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much, Najia. Thank you so much for the $5. And Evie, thank you so much for the $5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
If
those are
people
actually
aren't
really good
getting,
points. Go ahead.
if people aren't getting abortions like that, like having babies constantly and getting abortions, then why are there so many numbers? Like, that's crazy numbers, 45 million. Like, I feel like a lot of those people who get abortions are like,
Are you talking
they're just, they
globally?
can't take. Yes.
Okay,
Like,
well, there's
well,
like fucking
no,
almost
I
8
guess
billion
not
people.
globally.
The problem is that this guy hasn't actually thought about this meaningfully. He just kind of assumes of what he knows. He just like looks at figures and says, "Oh, I'm a decently smart guy. I can figure out things." He hasn't spent any sort of time to go through figures, to go through the numbers on this. So let's look at some facts. So basically, in 2022, let's assume. So this is no assumptions. CDC, all right. So according to the CDC, in 2022, 600,000 about legally from 48 reporting areas. 609 total were reported. So a ratio of 11 per thousand women and 199 per thousand live births. So that's about 5% per live births. And for people who are never going to give birth to kids, it's about 1%. So it seems like willy nilly, the only thing willy nilly here is his brain. Because he's clearly never looked a single day. Also, what's funny is that the numbers decreased in every category 2%, 3%. The point is that this person's no way sane.
I guess in the United States only, but
Tell me where you got that source from. You think there was 45 million abortions last year?
no, not last year. I'm talking about over the course of like since people have been getting abortion, since it's been legal. How long has abortion been legal, by the way?
I don't trust your math. If you don't know how long abortion has been legal, I don't trust your math.
Okay.
Wouldn't you have to know that to calculate?
This is what I keep talking about. He's just okay. I have a source. What's your source? Something. What's the something? Oh, I don't know. Okay. And just okay. You're just yapping for no reason. Just yapping. It's one thing if you have a source with how wrong it is. You don't even know. You just assume.
How long it's been?
Yeah.
Or to calculate that? Like how many
I
people?
got it, like you said, from I heard it from a
You
source.
would have to know that in order to know how. What source? Alex Jones?
No, from a specific person. I don't want to name them, but it was a specific person that I learned it from, and they learned it from a source. So I'm not
Why don't
I'm
you
not
wanna name them?
predicating it because you're gonna laugh.
I'm gonna laugh. Go for it. Tell me.
Charlie Kirk. Yeah. Yeah.
So to
he said-
clarify, you hear it from Charlie Kirk, and you're like, dude, that's right. You know what I want you to do? I want you to realize for 1 second that like literally 70% of the shit that comes out of Charlie Kirk's mouth is either like just like blatantly wrong or just a straight up lie. Okay? Like I'm serious. You watch Dan McClellan go over his entire video about him trying to deflect away from the question I asked him. Right? Every single thing he said was like basically wrong. Practically everything was just a total lie.
I just watched your video about 5 minutes ago. Are you talking about the one where you caught him at Turning Point?
Yeah.
And are you talking about the Bible stuff that he brought up? Is you're saying he was lying?
Yeah.
Well, I would
you
say
want
he's
to go watch the
necessarily
video?
lying.
Go watch Dan
Yeah, I
McClellan,
just-
a biblical scholar, go over it. He said that
Oh.
I took it out of context. There's no context I took it out of. Tell me what
No, I
context.
haven't watched that.
Tell me what context. You didn't watch it? What do you mean? You just said you watched it.
I watched your video, not John McKellen, whatever that is. I watched your video that you
Dan
made.
McClellan. Okay, but you watched
Yeah.
the video, right?
Yeah, I watched your video that you made. Just like, and then I looked on TikTok and I seen you were live. So But yeah, I saw that video that you made. Like, I didn't see the fact checking or whatever you're talking about, but
Okay. So given that you've seen the video, what
right.
do you agree with Charlie Kirk?
I mean, on the stance of the Bible, where you're talking about slavery, when he brought up the Hebrew difference, and that is true. A lot of words were different back in that day. You know, and I think
What word was different insofar as that it doesn't mean that it's referencing slavery? Because it has a specific word for slave and has a specific word for servant.
it's
And
for
slavery-
Jews.
What?
For the Jews.
Wait, we're talking. Yeah, I'm talking about for non-Israelites. There was chattel slavery for non-Israelites and indentured servitude for Jewish people.
Non-indentured slavery for the Jewish people. Is that what you just said?
It was indentured servitude.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't know very much on that to speak about it, and honestly, I just wanted to bring up that topic about the 45 million babies.
Wait,
So
do
I
you,
just
do you
wanted to
understand
talk about
that
that.
there's a distinction though? That this is actually like not even disputed that it literally is slavery. Also, indentured servitude is wrong. Do you agree with indentured servitude?
Well, what about the Egyptians enslaving? No, and I don't know exactly what that is. But what about the Egyptians enslaving the Hebrews?
I disagree with any enslavement.
Yeah,
What?
and it
You,
always
I mean, why
happened.
can't you just
It's
say you
all
disagree
the
with all slavery?
I do, and it's
Okay.
the thing is
So then
people bring it up.
why did it take over 2.5 minutes for Charlie Kirk to say that he doesn't think, or to say that he does think that slavery is always wrong? Why did it take him 2 minutes? And also that contradicts his biblical scripture. So when the same scriptures he uses to say that gay people are engaging in sins when they're engaging in intercourse is the same scripture that justifies slavery.
And there's one thing I wanted to bring up too is you know how you guys say biologically like people are made like they're born gay or whatever it may be.
Do you think you choose your sexuality?
Well, let me tell you this: when I was 10 years old, would you be able to get a
This reminds me of the series, and you should definitely check this out. It's called the Alt Right Playbook. This seminal work of descriptions of how the right wing and alt right and the neo right act, behave, defend, argue, and conduct themselves online. This is one of the techniques talks about. I can't remember the exact name, but this is basically short, quippy, and wrong, then detailed explanation, and then short, quippy, and wrong. Also, this also reminds me of the Lewis Rossman video. Never accept the premise of a-holes. And what's happening is that this a-hole doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know. So instead of trying to know or pretending to try to know, he just straight up says whatever he wants. Just whatever he wants. So yeah.
looking at another guy because I know damn well no one does. And if I was 10 years old and I got a boner from another guy, I would be thinking there was something wrong with me. You know what I mean? Because that no one has gotten a boner from another guy at that age. If you're, but before you've been, you know, whatever it may be, you know, I would say corrupted, but before that, you're gonna love girls. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? You do, Dean does, everyone does. That's normal. You just are making it a normal thing to allow people to become gay now, and it's everywhere. And
It is a normal thing to be gay. There's nothing.
Bear with me for one moment. Let's suppose it wasn't normal. What then? Just so we're clear. Let's say it's not normal, okay? Fine. What then? What is the ending of that? What's the use of that?
wrong with being gay, right? You're trying to argue that there's something wrong with being gay, or that people don't, right, have any type of preferences prior to the point in which they're 10 years old. I think that people can identify that they're gay prior to 10 years old, the same way I identified that I was straight prior to being 10 years old. So I'm trying to ask you this question: do you think it's a choice? Choose to do it right now. Choose to find me sexually attractive right now.
When I get, I wouldn't put it in that way, but I mean, yeah, a lot of motherfuckers that get high, a lot of motherfuckers that get high on shit.
I'm asking you. Hold
on.
I'm asking you. Can you please tell me? Do you think that you could find me sexually attractive right now just by choice?
No, but some people make.
No, wait, why not? Why can't you choose to do that?
Because I'm not turned that way. I've been the other way.
So did you? So it's not a choice.
I would say for some people it is.
Okay, who? For who?
People who are mentally challenged in those ways.
What?
You know what I mean?
Wait, I have a question. Do you think that Matt being bisexual means he's quote unquote mentally challenged?
The librarian? He's bisexual?
Yes.
No. Yes.
Is that like something crazy for you to find out?
I know.
Are you like sad? Are you sad?
Yes. I am.
What?
I'm not gonna clown on him.
That is it. Yeah, because I would
Wait,
get on the phone.
I came on, right? Because you said that no one prior to 10 years old, gets a boner or whatever.
Right.
Right. But I knew by the time I was 5 or 6 that when I looked at a boy that I thought was cute, I had the same internal feeling that I did when I met a girl that I liked, and that persisted on, and well into puberty and on into now. And so,
Why is he so shocked?
That's crazy.
Why are you so shocked?
It's not that crazy.
Because it really is, bro. Because that's just not how people are made, bro.
What do you mean? Wait.
Because I looked at men. I seen some men when I was 10, and I never felt anything.
Wait, hold on.
Because you're straight.
I am a perfect example of how it has to be mostly biological, because my family was more conservative, was religious. We had no GAY people in the family except for one person who was ostracized, right? And we often talked down about him. We often made fun of him. And if anything, because of my environment, I should have been one of the most straight dudes that you will ever see in your life. And yet, I did not turn out that way. So it makes entirely sense. And by the way, my sister is also a bisexual, and so that even leads more credence to the fact that it's probably biological.
And nothing ever happened to you to change you that way.
Why is that your first assumption? That something happened to someone that then led to that?
Well, because that's the truth. It happens.
No.
Hold on, no. This is a vast misconception, and I'm gonna clear it up right now, okay? I knew that I was bisexual prior to my essay. So I was essay well after I was already attracted to both boys and girls. Okay. Now,
sorry that happened to you.
And I've been essayed, by the way, by both men and women. So if anything, it doesn't really matter to me, about like what actually goes on. My point is, I knew what I was attracted to in the young, childlike sense since I was 5 or 6, right? And that's just like.
I feel when you have a guest like this and you try to explain to them about assault, you're throwing your pearls before swine. This person doesn't have the breath to understand this conversation. So I don't know what he's gonna do now. This is just a weird conversation. I might have to skip this one. To be clear, the weirdo who is talking about, who is so bothered by other people's attractions, is the problem here. Because how do you pivot from abortion to the LGBT community? What's the relation, big bro?
Redhead, the fact that you would even say that is actually crazy to me. That's actually crazy. Like you can't even foresee that someone could be gay outside of that context.
Okay, well, let me tell you why. Because my grandma worked in the hair salon industry. She owned her own hair salon, and many gay people worked with her. And she said that most of the people who talked with her told her the things that happened. And that's not any type of way. I'm not trying to put, like I said, I'm very sorry that happened.
Because people told her things happened to them, that doesn't mean that was what caused
Change their bisexual, or change their sexuality.
No. All you're proving is that men who are GAY or men who are bisexual are more likely to be SA because we are in environments where that may or may not happen. No. It's the same reason why many young girls are SA, right? It's about power and it's about opportunity.
Okay, but I'm not talking about people who are gay. I'm talking about people before they even think. I don't even think people should be thinking about their sexuality at that age. At 10 years old.
Wait, redhead. Do you think it was wrong that when I was 5 years old, I had a crush on a girl in the classroom?
I didn't even know that girls had. I didn't even know the biological. That's why you don't even learn that until high school, Parker.
High school, dude. Jesus Christ. I grew up in Iowa. In 5th grade, we learned about anatomy. Don't tell me that you waited till high school to hear about this thing. That would be sad. Yes, absolutely. I didn't learn that in 5th grade.
Okay,
and that's living in conservative Iowa.
I didn't learn that in 5th grade.
I grew up in a Christian conservative area in Iowa.
By the way, why are you connecting the young childhood crushes that we have on individuals with like sex and stuff? Like, I look at a person as a 5-year-old and I was like, oh, they're cute, and I wanted to like get to know them.
Because, like I said, I just said that I don't think about sex. I didn't say that. I said you can get an attraction to a girl, right? And I was also talking about, you were saying if you're gay, then you're more likely to get SA. But that's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to say boys, before they're even thinking about sex or thinking about attraction, you know, when you're 4 to 5 or 6, you're not even getting boners at that point. You're thinking about going to play.
Your brain is just not functioning at all. Okay? Is your only idea of attraction related to whether or not you get a fucking stick in your pants, dude?
Yeah.
Use your brain cells. Oh my god. Do you think there's any connotation of attraction outside of getting a stick? Is that it? No.
Well, that shows
dude,
attraction,
what?
does it not?
Dude, you use your brain. Can you find someone attractive without getting a stick, dude?
When I was looking at a magazine when I was 10, I got a stick. That's just how it is.
I don't need to hear that. I don't need to hear that. I'm not asking you that question. Why are you telling me that?
Red,
Why
do you
are
get a
you
stick?
telling me that?
Red, do you get a stick every single time you see somebody who's attractive? Like every single time you notice somebody on the street who's attractive, you automatically get a stick?
No.
No, obviously not. You can look at somebody if they're attractive without getting a stick.
I was looking at the magazines with the girls in the bikinis and stuff, you know?
Okay, I don't need to know. I don't need to know. I'm not asking you about that. Jesus Christ. I'm just asking you whether or not you can have attraction without literally referring to the damn stick, dude. Jesus Christ.
No, I think you can't.
Yo, Jennifer, thank you for the $50. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the W's for Jennifer. For the $50 YouTube super chat, thank you so much. Traceless, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Sabrina, thank you for the 14 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It said in grade 3, my parents got me anatomy textbooks, and I thought it was so cool. I would bring it to school and show my friends how babies were born. I was 7. Nalix, thank you so much for the 7 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And Sid with the $100. Thank you so much. W's for Sid in the comment section right now for the $100 YouTube super chat. He said, I work in elementary school and confirm kids are quote unquote dating, like 3rd grade and up. Innocent but true. Yeah, literally. Like, do you not remember like the boyfriends and girlfriends like thing in like kindergarten and shit, bro? Come on, use your brain cells. Do you think that's wrong?
No.
Nalix, thank you for the 7 Canadian.
No, I had a girl in the
And Darcel, thank you so much for the $10. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. They said I had man crushes since I was 5.
That's
was
crazy.
gay back then and gay now. It's not a choice. Absolutely, it's not a choice. Wait. Do you think it's a choice? Could you? So you can't choose, but you think it's a choice for other people? Is that your view?
Yeah.
That's just like okay.
In
So
a way.
why only for them but not for you?
Because brains are all different, and some people are different in that way.
Okay, well then for some people it isn't a choice, right? Is that your view?
For some people, it isn't a choice.
Yeah, you said it's only a choice for some people.
Yes.
Okay. So then, well then, how do you know who's the choice for and who it's not? Matt, do you think the $2?
For people like you said, who I guess Matt, you know, had that sexual attraction when he was younger, so you know.
I
guess
guarantee
that's
you, every single GAY person or every single bisexual person has had that attraction when they were young. Because just like people who go to GAY,
my old.
Give it 10 so much. My parents were Catholic and always pushed heterosexuality on me. Literally, the only thing pushed on people right, is heterosexuality. The only thing forced on children is heterosexuality. And what you want to do is you want to indoctrinate kids into big.
no one to date has been successfully converted back to straight. It just doesn't exist. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I mess with people anyway. Like God says to love your neighbor, so I'm not hurtful against anyone. I hang around those kinds of people all the time.
You watch Charlie Kirk, right?
The raves and shit. So. No.
Yeah. So like, what are you talking about, bro?
Sometimes.
You follow Charlie Kirk. You got that information and you
Is
write
it
it and
right?
act like it's true. And those kinds of people is crazy.
What the 40? Yeah. Well, no. I just don't know how to really the LGBTQ community. Like I don't really know how to really say it, but yeah, I like to hang around. I just feel like every time you try to say something, it's like
I'm sorry, if you can't remember 5 letters, right? It doesn't make us look crazy or stupid. It makes you.
I never called you stupid. What do you mean?
I'm just saying, like, it makes like you guys try to act like it's so insane to support gay people and trans people, but then like literally, like, you guys can't remember what 5-letter acronyms.
By the way, how does this relate to
Is that not it?
Well, you just said you didn't know what it was, right? And you're like,
Well, I was
I'm
saying,
not
I
sure if
don't know
that's
how
it.
No, that's not what I was saying. I'm saying I wasn't sure how to say those people. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't sure. I don't like to say gay people. Like, I feel like sometimes it's, I don't know. Like, it's just weird.
Man, cut this shit off, man. Cut this shit off. This is a whole ass weirdo. He doesn't know. Oh God, he doesn't know anything about anything. It's just a whole weirdo, man. What is this? What is this? Man, kind of pissed. I'm not gonna lie.
Border policy.
What border policy deportated more people?
The one that he put in plan. The one.
Oh, banned. Guest speech, guest violation, hate speech, hateful behaviors. I just gotta, if they say it, I gotta just like kick them out. If they just say it, I gotta kick them out. It's TikTok doesn't even allow me just to like do that. That's insane. Already banned? Are you kidding me? 10 minutes though. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm sorry, Matt. Alrighty. Well, what's up, everyone? Do make sure to like the live, everyone. Do make sure to like the live. Just pull Dean. I don't know what you're saying. Don't know what that person's saying. Oh, the video from today is doing all right. It's doing pretty good. 10 minute. Yep, I know it's a 10 minute. Yeah, I know. TikTok hates me. That was super quick. I know, right? That was pretty quick. In the meantime, everyone, I would actually recommend you can, actually, no, you can stay on here. But by the way, later, everyone, you can go check out the video that I posted. I did post a video onto YouTube here. Why not just quit TikTok and figure out a new platform? Well, it's the best for getting debates. And I wouldn't quit a platform I spent so much time on. I've spent years on TikTok building it up. But that's why I'm here. Trace listening to the $5. If I use ChatGPT to compare Trump's policies to Kamala's policies, and man, it makes Trump look so bad. I bet it does. It's very brutal. Very brutal. Let's see what we're at, everyone. Let's see what we're at. We need to wait. Oh shit. Seriously? 8 more minutes? That's so brutal. That's so brutal. Well, Bucky, thank you for $5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I don't know why TikTok, or not TikTok, MAGA is so basically the same thing at this point. Why they do what they do sometimes. Their brains need to be studied. Grok is so diabolical about Elon Musk. True. Darling and Parker just assume they have brains. Parker, we are both wearing glasses. Boost. Glasses I'm wearing today are actually kind of like wearing them sometimes. They're blue light glasses, so I like wearing them sometimes because it reduces headaches associated with the bright lights. Blinkers for Parker. Maybe here soon. I had to get new glasses last month. Nice. I had headaches from bright lights and MAGA. So real. So real. Yeah, TikTok deportated me. Evie, thank you so much for the $2. Chat, I love this microphone setup. It's so much better. The stand is so much better. I like it rather than the other one. The other one was like so like clanky. This one is like so nice. I love it. Bring back collapsing mic. Yeah, it was so brutal. Super sleek mic. Absolutely. We got a few minutes, everyone. It should be 23, so we got 5 more minutes. We're halfway through. Trace, let's think of the $5. Thank you. Make sure to like the live if you haven't already. Ever know it. There's 2,000 people almost. We could get to
Okay. I think I clicked the button correctly. Yeah, no, it's coming up. Okay, great. It just took a minute. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And we've got a show for you. We got one more person coming. Enemy Charlie will be here soon. She says she's running a couple minutes late, and that's fine. When she gets here, we'll pull her in. But today, we're going to be talking about a few polls that have been released of late, showing that Democratic approval ratings are in the toilet. 27%, the lowest they've been in my lifetime, has been released recently, right? In addition, we've seen party affiliation polls where, again, for the first time in a long, long time, the party affiliation and party identification with Republicans has exceeded that of Democrats. So the question for today and tomorrow, because we're going to talk about a similar topic tomorrow with another set of guests, is why is this happening? What about the Democratic Party is turning people off? How can Democrats change this? In what way are Republicans more appealing to the average voter and the American voter than Democrats are? All this and more, we're going to get into it. It should be fun. It should be a great discussion. Let's start with introductions. We're going to give it first to my man, J-Mac. Open us up. Let's see what you got to say. Go ahead.
Hey, Wick, thanks for having me today, and should be a fun conversation. As far as the Democratic approval is concerned, I kind of find myself in an interesting position, seeing that I have voted Democrat in the past. I voted Republican. I'm registered independent. So I do my best to try to stay non-biased. Obviously, everyone has their biases, but I do think that does allot me a specific kind of perspective on everything. So I'm excited to talk to everybody here and get to know you guys, and hopefully we'll pass around the buck and see what blood is drawn.
Okay, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. New York Shade, second time on my show. We didn't scare him off the first time. We'll see if we can do it this time. Go ahead, New York. Give us what you got.
Yeah, good to see you, Wick. Nice to meet everybody here who I haven't met yet. Gonna try and keep this under a minute, but ultimately the Democrat Party is failing the United States. The United States needs two competitive parties to pursue optimization. We know this is a core tenet of capitalism. Competition breeds excellence. The Democratic Party is in a self-inflicted doom spiral, allowing Republicans to pursue their initiatives unchecked. While I support the majority of those Republican initiatives today, this omnipotent rule is not sustainable in the long run. The Democrat Party approval rating is at historical lows, and the recent election saw outflows across nearly every demographic, with the exception of affluent liberal women. This is because the Democrats, seated under Obama and heavily expanded under Biden, embraced the idea of suicidal empathy, a core tenet for sheltered white women who, by the way, have been the largest beneficiaries of DEI by miles. Democrats prioritize empathy for certain groups, particularly minorities, immigrants, marginalized communities, to such an extent that it alienates the general voter base, leading to self-destructive political decisions. And as a result, they let millions of illegals pour over our borders and let violent criminals walk freely, both factors that are visible to the everyday electorate after noticing the hit on their wallets. Democrats cheer on violent protests, and yes, January 6th was also bad, applaud the arson of private American property and companies, inflate the cost of living under environmental speculation, celebrate the ideological sterilization of minors and the mentally ill, and threaten to defund the police. And instead of right-sizing now with a level-headed leader who says, this party has failed you, but here's a path forward, they platform pandering ideological clowns like Jasmine Crockett, who recently says she's so sick of white male tears on national television. When populist figures like Bernie Sanders get momentum, the Democrat elites castrate him. There is a permanent risk of failure for the Democratic Party, and it is the best interest of the United States to rectify this.
Okay. Great. Thank you for being here. Sorry to cut you off, but again...
No, sorry, I had something much longer written.
I get you. I understand. And thank you for being here, and we'll get into it as we go. I'm just trying to get to the meat of the show, right? The discussion. Soy Pill, what you got?
Hey, it's me, the Soy Pill. Yeah, so Democrats have an amazing opportunity right now, which is to do literally anything. The Republican Party is fumbling, as we see in very many places. They're alienating their own voter base with policies that hurt them, whether that's layoffs in the government or fucking over farmers or tariffs or any of this stuff. It's getting pretty bad, and they're losing support where they shouldn't be. And despite this, Chuck Schumer and other people who are voting for their resolution are somehow just saying, well, we'll wait until they get turned on, and it's clearly not happening. They have this weird pie-in-the-sky idea that at some point all of these Republicans that have already been threatened with primaries from Elon Musk are going to see the error of their ways, even though it's been 8 years and they never do that. So the Democratic Party needs a resounding message. The leadership doesn't have it. I agree with Shade that AOC, Bernie actually have some sort of push and people actually show up to the rallies, and maybe we can get those guys to be the heads in some way, shape, or form. But right now, they just have no plan, and it's terrible, and no matter how bad the Republicans are. So I am advocating for a better Democratic Party to counter the baby politics coming from the right now.
Okay, well, we'll get into exactly what that means in the discussion. Thank you for being here. Next up, until Charlie arrives, which hopefully is soon, right? Shenandoah. What do you got for us? First time on the show. Don't fuck it up.
Very first
okay?
time.
We're
Don't
all
fuck it up.
judging you. Go ahead.
I'll do my absolute best. Thank you. I have a very simple statement to make. I think that the general media environment produces a situation where the Democrats naturally can't win 50% of the voter base. That's just how things are in a social media world where algorithms train people to hate people unlike you no matter what you believe or what they believe. And yet they still manage to fuck up and alienate at least, if not more, 50% of their own base. And the reason why is because the Democrat leaderships are cowards who are unwilling to fight this MAGA Republican threat to our country. And a lot of the Democrats who vote for them are ultimately dissatisfied with this weak and pathetic leadership. And I think it's pretty much that simple.
Okay, it's that simple. Well, we'll see if solving it is equally simple. So again, I'll just jump in here and chime in here. The problem I see it is that the Democrats are in the middle of a civil war. Okay, we have different parties and factions within the Democratic Party who are wrestling with who's going to get control. You have the AOCs, then you have the even more extreme portion of the left wing, who is the dark woke, if you want to label them something, who is advocating to firebomb Teslas, the do something crowd, right? And then you have the Chuck Schumers, the parliamentarians, and things like that. And then you have a whole host of people in between. Until the Democrats decide what they want to be, we're going to continue to lose.
Wick, is anyone in the Democratic Party in power advocating for firebombing things?
Do you think that only the people who are in power matter when it comes to their advocacy?
No. I'm just curious if that's what you meant.
So what I mean by that is there's a portion of the left. Right,
oh, sure. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to push. I was just curious if you were referencing something that I didn't know about.
Leaders, right? But our last guest is here. Charlie.
Oh, I am so sorry for being late. My appointment ran a bit longer than I thought it would. Give me just 1 second.
Take your time. We're talking right now about why the Democratic Party is floundering and what, if anything, can be done to stop the bleeding. There is a ray of hope. Okay, I'll give you the glimmer of hope. Last night, in a Pennsylvania district, my home state, right? A Trump plus 15 district, a district that voted for Trump with plus 15 points in the last election, flipped in a special election from red to blue. They ousted their Republican senator and appointed a Democratic senator. So there's that. But all the other metrics seem to be bad for Democrats right now. You got poll numbers that are just abysmal and all these things. So let's talk about it. Why do you think, Charlie? Give us your opening thoughts here. Everyone's had a turn. Let's give you a turn.
I mean, opening thoughts. I think that the Dems have really failed to appeal to the working class and working class concerns. And I think that largely they have not promised change of any kind, but promised more of the same. And I think that, my goodness, didn't Harris, I think she hired someone that worked with Hillary Clinton on her campaign. I just think that people are kind of sick of like corporate Dem stuff. And they want to know that their concerns are being heard and addressed, and yeah, that's my thoughts.
Okay. Well, and with that, we were going to open up discussion, and let's see where we go. What do we think? Well, I keep hearing like the Democrats don't appeal to working concerns. Can anyone give me an example of what Democrats should run on? If you were in charge of the Democratic Party today, what would you do? What policy? What messaging would you use? Go ahead, anyone.
Can I give a few anecdotes?
Please.
As somebody, and obviously anecdotes aren't perfect data, but they are data nonetheless. And as somebody who kind of occupies a lot of spaces, I have kids, so I see a lot of the parents. We go to a lot of different events. Something that was kind of interesting was my wife and I was just on vacation over spring break, and we met tons of different couples from all over the country. Pennsylvania, you had someone from New York, all over the place. Some countries outside of the United States as well, Canada, a couple from France. Regardless, the thing that was really interesting to me and my wife was that politics hardly ever came up, and if it did, it was so nebulous and vague, because your average person is not like anybody on this panel. They're not on Twitter, they're not going on debates, they are not really plugged in. They get their news from whatever news source that they prefer in their little silo, and that's all that they ever digest. So when the Democrats, Republicans do this too, by the way, but politically, when the Democrats zero in on these niche issues that don't really apply to the average household or family in the United States, you alienate a lot of the populace that just, they won't resonate with that at all.
Be specific. A niche
Okay,
issue.
so a niche issue that I think is when gender ideology started becoming more mainstream in the Democratic Party. When that became less of a microcosm of the constituents, and you had all these huge focuses on pride, kink, you had celebrations of a higher level of Democratic leadership, and I think to the average person, even those that are typically okay with LGBT stuff, there was a sense of kind of encroachment in the individual person's lives and families, especially when it comes to their kids.
Yeah, but that's totally a function of Republican news blowing it up and have nothing to do with the Democratic Party messaging. Like, if you're talking about what can the Democrats do, they didn't even campaign on trans issues whatsoever. And yet every single Trump ad was, oh, she's for they, them. Oh, look, they're putting trans people in the military. Like, I don't even think Democrats mentioned it once they replaced Biden.
I'm not talking about 2024.
Oh,
This has been going on for a while. I can remember far back as like 2012.
Okay, but Democrats won in 2020, so why are you going back that far?
Because this systematically, when this stuff starts, there's a certain point, there's a certain line that if you push past, your average person it goes from, oh, I don't really care, or, oh yeah, that should be nice, gays should be allowed to marry, or yeah, if you're trans, maybe you should be able to have the medical blah, 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 to, okay, well now they're advertising this to children, or they're pushing it on children. The gender reaffirming or affirming care is a huge focus. And I don't buy that Democrats at no level are promoting or supporting this.
I didn't say at no level, but when you say a huge focus, what you're talking about is the only reason you're hearing about this is right-wing media who blow it up because they're fear-mongering about it.
That's not true.
It is
That's
absolutely
not true.
true, I promise.
No, you're assuming. No. I started the whole preface of our conversation is I'm independent.
Sure. But who are you hearing this from? From anecdotes, right? Like, who's bringing this up to you? Is it people that watch Fox News? Is it people that are watching Alex Jones?
Yeah, of course. People who
right.
are typically
So
more concerned with it. But
no one who's watching CNN is or listening to David Pakman even. The only reason they would even know about gender affirming care is because David Pakman covers the crazy people blowing it up in the media in the first place. So it's a non-issue.
This is a real do you have kids? Question. Do you have children?
I don't, but would it matter?
Okay. It does matter because this is something that comes up in school board meetings, like currently, like in our own district.
I understand there's a lot of people talking about it. I'm not saying you're right. By the way, if this is this sounds like I'm coming adversarial. Sorry, this is all of my rage against the right-wing party.
No problem.
The fact that people are talking about it to the extent they are is because people are blowing it up and fear-mongering about it. This is an incredibly small issue. This affects very few people, but the reason you hear about it so much, the reason you hear about it at school board meetings, the reason you hear about it in the media is because it, like you said, there is a line somewhere in gender ideology that your average person might be like, hey, I'm not sure about that. Hey, should a trans woman be in women's sports? Maybe your random not keyed in person might not have the exact same position as a progressive, and because you can blow that up and because you can make that a wedge issue, that's why anyone's talking about it, period. So that's kind of...
I do want to get some more people in here. I know Charlie's
Sorry.
been wanting to get in. I know Shenandoah, and I know New York State wants to get in. So we're going to go in that order. Charlie, New York, Shenandoah. That's the order we're going to go in. Charlie, go ahead.
I'm very much inclined to agree with the soy pill here. If you talk to the average liberal or centrist that isn't really looking at right-wing media, they don't hear or know anything about trans issues beyond yeah, they should have rights, and that's about as much as you hear. The only time I hear anything in depth about, oh my god,
if you're trans, maybe you should be able to have the medical blah, 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 to, okay, well now they're advertising this to children, or they're pushing it on children. The gender reaffirming or affirming care is...
Okay. Well, and that's with that we were going to open up discussion, and let's see where we go. What do we think? Well, I keep hearing like the Democrats don't appeal to working concerns. Can anyone give me an example of what Democrats should run on? If you were in charge of the Democratic Party today, what would you do? What policy? What messaging would you use? Go ahead, anyone.
Can I give a few anecdotes?
Please.
As somebody, and obviously anecdotes aren't perfect data, but they are data nonetheless. And as somebody who kind of occupies a lot of spaces, I have kids, so I see a lot of the parents. We go to a lot of different events. Something that was kind of interesting was my wife and I was just on vacation over spring break, and we met tons of different couples from all over the country. Pennsylvania, you had someone from New York, all over the place. Some countries outside of the United States as well, Canada, a couple from France. Regardless, the thing that was really interesting to me and my wife was that politics hardly ever came up, and if it did, it was so nebulous and vague because your average person is not like anybody on this panel. They're not on Twitter, they're not going on debates, they are not really plugged in. They get their news from whatever news source that they prefer in their little silo, and that's all that they ever digest. So when the Democrats, Republicans do this too, by the way, but politically, when the Democrats zero in on these niche issues that don't really apply to the average household or family in the United States, you alienate a lot of the populace that just they won't resonate with that at all.
Be specific. A niche
Okay,
issue.
so a niche issue that I think is when gender ideology started becoming more mainstream in the Democratic Party. When that became less of a microcosm of the constituents, and you had all these huge focuses on pride, kink. You had celebrations of a higher level of Democratic leadership, and I think to the average person, even those that are typically okay with LGBT stuff, there was a sense of kind of encroachment in the individual person's lives and families, especially when it comes to their kids.
Yeah, but that's totally a function of Republican news blowing it up and have nothing to do with the Democratic Party messaging. Like, if you're talking about what can the Democrats do, they didn't even campaign on trans issues whatsoever. And yet every single Trump ad was, oh, she's for they, them. Oh, look, they're putting trans people in the military. Like, I don't even think Democrats mentioned it once they replaced Biden.
I'm not talking about 2024.
Oh,
this has been going on
for
this has been going on for a while. I can remember far back as like 2012.
Okay, but Democrats won in 2020, so why are you going back that far?
Because this systematically, when this stuff starts, there's a certain point, there's a certain line that if you push past, your average person it goes from, oh, I don't really care, or, oh yeah, that should be nice, gays should be allowed to marry, or yeah, if you're trans, maybe you should be able to have the medical blah, 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 to, okay, well now they're advertising this to children, or they're pushing it on children. The gender reaffirming or affirming care is a huge focus. And
you're saying they pushed it on children when Fox News' wall-to-wall coverage of minorities and the LGBT community, that is Fox News wall-to-wall. What are you talking about? That's not a real thing to say, man. Said as far back as 2012. And again, it didn't start now. Anything that is outside of the regular straights is treated that way and blown up out of proportion. Like, let's not do this both sides BS. Trying to conflate. No, don't conflate them. You're not allowed to do that.
I don't buy that Democrats at no level are promoting or supporting this.
I didn't say at no level, but when you say a huge focus, what you're talking about is the only reason you're hearing about this is right-wing media who blow it up because they're fear-mongering about it.
That's not true.
It is absolutely true. I promise.
No, you're assuming. No. I started the whole preface of our conversation is I'm independent.
Sure. But who are you hearing this from? From anecdotes, right? Like who's bringing this up to you? Is it people that watch Fox News? Is it people that like are watching Alex?
Yes, the independent strikes again. I'm independent except when it comes to issues I don't like, then I'm conservative. Yikes. Just say you're conservative. You just want to escape criticisms and try to push something forward. It's cowardly.
Oh, yeah, of
Jones,
course.
like
People who are
right.
typically
So
more
like,
concerned with it, but
no one who's watching CNN is or you know listening to David Pakman even the only reason they would even know about gender affirming care is because David Pakman covers the crazy people blowing it up in the media in the first place. So like, this is it's a
no,
non-issue.
this is a real no. Do you have kids? Question. Do you have children?
I don't, but would it matter?
Okay. It does matter because this is something that comes up in school board meetings, like currently, like in our own district.
I understand there's a lot of people talking about it. I'm not saying you're right. By the way, if this is this sounds like I'm coming adversarial. Sorry, this is all of my rage against the
okay.
right-wing party.
No problem.
The fact that people are talking about it to the extent they are is because people are blowing it up and fear-mongering about it. This is an incredibly small issue. This affects very few people, but the reason you hear about it so much, the reason you hear about it at school board meetings, the reason you hear about it in the media is because it, like you said, there is a line somewhere in gender ideology that your average person might be like, hey, I'm not sure about that. Hey, should a trans woman be in women's sports? Maybe your random not keyed in person might not have the exact same position as a progressive, and because you can blow that up and because you can make that a wedge issue, that's why anyone's talking about it, period. So that's kind of...
I do want to get some more people in here. I know
Sure.
Charlie's been wanting to get in. I know Shenandoah, and I know New York State wants to get in. So we're going to go in that order. New York, Charlie, New York, Shenandoah. That's the order we're going to go in. Charlie, go ahead.
I'm very much inclined to agree with the soy pill here. If you talk to the average liberal or centrist that isn't really looking at right-wing media, they don't hear or know anything about trans issues beyond yeah, they should have rights, and that's about as much as you hear. The only time I hear anything in depth about, oh my god, they're transing the kids, they're doing transgender surgeries on illegal aliens in prison, that's all right wing, because trans issues are extremely niche. This is a very, very, very small, subsection of the population. It is right wing fear mongering. You do not hear the average American talking about these sorts of things unless they are extremely locked in. And I know this because I'm, LGBT myself. And so when these things come up with people, the average straight person does not have a lot to say. It's only the very online that do have a lot to say, and they're right-wing.
Okay. New York Shade, you wanted to get in?
Yeah, I mean, my question would be, why would the right-wing media not hone in on this issue, even if it's particularly niche, just because it is extremely extreme and polarizing for the base? Like, this is political strategy 101. If you want to make the ground crumble under the opposite party.
The issue is not them zeroing on an issue, a wedge issue. The issue is them making shit up. That's the problem. Here's a simple instance, right? Because people like to pretend to be dumb fucks. When Donald Trump gave the State of the Union address, he gave the State of the Union address and he talked about the trans woman who did the biking session. Yeah, so he said she was taking away medals from women's sports by competing in a race. What he pretended not to know, because if you're the president, you should know this. I'm sorry. He said, so Donald Trump mentioned the transgender community half a dozen times. This is 1% of the population. That's just excessive. How many times did he mention Italians? How many times did he mention the Irish? Like twice. You think there are more trans people than Irish people? 15 minutes in, he noted that he signed this for declaring the first only trans to untable sexes. Okay. Another banning women from chasing women's sports. He then introduced Peyton McNabb, who played volleyball in high school in North Carolina. Trump said planned to play sports in college until her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male. Said the player slashed the ball so hard he broke his face, causing traumatic brain injury. Partial injury. With the person. It's still unclear. Wow. So no one knows whether the person spiked the ball officially, so she doesn't even know, or they don't want to come forward and say so. Which I'll give them a 50% there. All right, even if it's probably fake. I'm just going to give them 50% here. And Trump said, so this one is what I was getting to. He was talking about Austin Phillips, trans women cyclist, did the 800-mile Arizona trail race. The Arizona trail race is a mixed sex trail race. What happens is everybody all across the world comes in and says and participates in it. It's an unofficial challenge that takes place every year on the Coast Arizona Trail. It has been completed since 2006. It's not organized or sanctioned. It's simply a group of friends that ride. What's the leaderboard? So it's currently going on right now. So you have Justinus, we have Alex, we have Max, we have Luther, we have Alexandra, we have Aaron, we have Matt, we have Tom, we have Dylan, we have Karen, we have Lay, we have Kevin, Tyler, Elliot, Danny, Chase, Lee. It is a lot of guys. We also have Jennifer, we have Shannon. What do you notice here? Pretty freaking simple. Let's see, women. There are a bunch of women here. But they also, again, it's mixed. It's a mixed tournament. So when he said she was winning 4 women, he talked about beating the previous record set by a cisgender woman. All right. Austin Phillips herself had the previous record was held by a man. And that man broke the record set by a woman. So it's literally a mixed race. Mixed sex thing. So here's the problem, right? Whatever your opinion about this situation is, which is a weird thing because way too many people who have no idea what is happening have an opinion. He doesn't know. Half the people who are against this don't know what it is. And that's the key problem. If they knew, because the president came up and basically made something up, and no pushback, nothing, no consequences, just lied, basically. Just lied. You know? This was the same person that said transgender mice when he was supposed to say transgenic, which is all about genetics and testing and science and cancer. He didn't say, he hasn't come out say, oh, I made a mistake, or the White House released a statement. It's just, he said that, and you have people calling into lives like Dean and Parker's lives, like, oh, transgender mice. That's the problem. That's the difference.
You zero in on something that is highly disputable and unpopular. And we know that, for example, trans men in women's sports is a hugely unpopular issue, including in the Democrat Party. So they hone in on it. And let's not pretend that the left-wing media wouldn't do the same exact thing for any glaring hypocrisies that are within the Republican Party. This is just a clear double standard and looking to blame the media instead of actually looking at their own policy and the politicians that they're putting forth in front of the public. We know Kamala Harris has supported extreme transgender ideology throughout her Senate career, and just because she erased that from her presidential run doesn't really matter.
Yeah, Shade, we're not contesting that there's no obvious reason for them to focus on this. You're 100% right. Like, of course they'll focus on this because it plays so well with your average Republican. Because you look at like the why did you vote for Trump polls, and a bunch of them say gender ideology, even though it has little to nothing to do with them. It doesn't affect their lives whatsoever. Yeah, but we're criticizing the party for blowing this ridiculous thing. And if there's something the Democrats are blowing up that's, people like to point at Donald Trump way back in 2016 and say, look, he made fun of this disabled reporter, and you can watch like compilations of him making fun of pretty much anyone, and he kind of does the same movements, he does the same voice, and it's actually, in my opinion, kind of questionable whether or not he was like literally mocking this guy's disability. That's the same kind of thing where I don't think Democrats have been doing that nearly as much anymore because they realize, wow, like there's a lot of big issues that need to happen. So
are you trying to walk me into a Jasmine Crockett comment about her calling Governor Abbott?
Oh, no. That was just an example that came up because of that Jasmine Crockett thing. But what I'm saying is, yeah, a Democratic Party thing could be, hey, let's blow up this ridiculous, potentially non-issue, or even if it is an issue, clearly not that important compared to a lot of these other things that are happening. But when I say trans ideology is being blown up for no good reason other than to win political points, that's a criticism of the Republican Party. They don't actually care about the effects. They care about playing it up for...
What I'm hearing, just real quick, because again, I just want to remind everyone we're here to talk about, like, okay, what's happening to the Democratic Party? It seems to be, at least from J-Max comments, New York Chase comments, and then the responses here, and from Shenandoah's opening statements. I'm going to give you the mic in a second here, Shenandoah.
Thank you.
It's the right-wing media has dominated the airwaves in such a way that Democrats are just failing. But I wonder if that's true. Like, sure, certainly that plays a factor, absolutely. But I'm just curious if any of you really, for Kamala, what was Kamala running on? Like, what was her strongest policy position that she ran on?
Her strongest policy position was, I'm going to do nothing different.
Charlie shaking her head.
Was not really having one.
It was buses. It was school buses, wasn't it? Like they're yellow and they're great.
I think her absolute strongest policy position was her housing position, because she was talking about like abundance in housing and deregulating housing. I think that was probably one of the really big things she was trying to run on.
That or the child tax credit, definitely.
Yeah, that was another good one.
But
not
those were
messaged
continuing.
about that.
Yeah, because she never said, well, she did say, but she never pushed it the same way a Republican's going to be like, hey, she's trans, she's trans. Like, if they hammered it in, you notice the highest time she polled was directly after replacing Joe Biden, who couldn't finish a sentence, and when they called Republicans weird. And suddenly they realized, like, wait, if we play this dirty game of politics and call out the right, like they've been doing in the media for the past 8 years, maybe we can actually get some like vigor in this party. And then they stopped because they had to hone in Tim Walz. So I think Wick, it is the media market that the Democrats.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend the Democratic Party because I don't think they wanted to win, really. I don't think so. I think they enjoy being the opposition because they don't have to do anything. They just relax and they can ask for donations to fight the power. They want to be Republicans so bad because Republicans for all this time have been quote unquote fighting and donating. And now they're in power, they're leaking national secrets or international secrets to foreign adversaries for no reason. Just incompetence. The Democrats love the process. They don't like these pesky people asking about things. So that's what's happening. You have Democrats who don't want to do anything, who don't want to be disturbed, and then you have them. You're not asking them, hey, can we get some policy? Hey, can you fight Trump? Why would they want to do that? Democrats will always 100% support a Trump over a Bernie presidency. It doesn't matter about party lines. They just don't want someone to rock the boat. And that's also different in the Democrats and the Liberals in Canada. In Canada, the Liberals are more likely to want to win. They're more likely to want to have a fight. Democrats aren't. They gave up too easily, and they will collude with the quote-unquote enemy because they believe more in the uniparty. The Republicans don't anymore. There's no uniparty for the Republicans. It is the Trump party now. And that's what it is, because Trump is the winner. Well, people like what he says. When Trump talks to people, he appeals to their emotions, their idea of a better version of themselves, and all of a sudden, that washes away any disqualifications, any lawsuits, any sexual crimes he may or may not have committed. You know, by softly introducing those ideas to people, poisoning the lifeblood of our country, things like that, that's how he wins. The Democrats, no, they're not really interested in winning. Not really. They're more interested in posturing. This is probably why a lot of Republican voters hate Democrats so much, because they feel like riffraff. They're not trying to be anything.
Democrats still don't know how to play. They're still doing the high ground bullshit.
No, come on.
I disagree with that entirely, but
I think if Tim Walz had called Donald Trump a retard, I think he would have.
What exactly? The Democrats, they just want to enjoy, honestly.
One. Let's give it to Shenandoah. Go ahead.
I'll go on national TV right now. What I was going to say is, yeah, well, why not? I mean, I'll lose some money to the FCC, but whatever. So I wanted to go back to the original claim that the main reason the Democrats lost is that they're over-focusing on these hyper-niche issues. And I understand where you're coming from, because again, I think a lot of polls showed that the principal concerns of voters in this election were economic, but I don't really remember that much in Kamala's campaign where she really even touched on many cultural issues. They had to go back to the 2020 primaries in order to pull that stuff from her saying, we're going to give people in prison trans healthcare. They had pretty much almost nothing on her during the actual election. And instead, they focused a lot on the really shrill and loud element of the Democratic Party, which does advocate for these things, and then they generalize this element to the entirety of Democratic policy. And I find this maneuver really interesting, because it doesn't happen to the Republicans. In fact, when we're talking about the Republicans and how people treat them, they don't even listen to their own leadership, let alone take seriously what their activist base says. But with the Democrats, even just some like random no-name blue-haired chick, I mean, she could be basically labeled as like the Democrat, even if she has absolutely no position of power within the government or the Democratic Party itself. And I think the reason this is because the Democrats have lost control of the media machine. They've ceded new media to the right, and legacy media, which they used to have a lot of control over, has basically disintegrated. I mean, people just don't really watch that anymore. The only category of people who watch,
except for Fox News, everybody who watches Fox News, yeah, I will never watch that shit, never. But I also, it's interesting. When I was younger, CNN was basically quote unquote the standard. Then when Trump won, they kind of just became off in a way. Now, I just can't watch CNN. I can't watch Fox. I can't take either seriously. But I'm not equating, by the way. I'm not saying Fox and CNN are the same. Please, no. Far be it from me. CNN is 100 times better than Fox, because if CNN makes something up, there's gonna be someone who calls them out. Fox just decides to make stuff up. Do you know how many lawsuits they have lost from defamation? All the time. So it's not a real news channel. Like, did anybody see Jesse Waters, what he said about the leaks?
No one died except for terrorists. There was no collateral damage. The mission was a success. And Democrats think they have a scandal. Accidentally adding someone to a group text, which we've all done.
This is, in a nutshell, the problem with Fox News. Someone was added to Signal. If you don't know, Signal is basically like Telegram or WhatsApp or even Facebook if you like Mark Zuckerberg. And he's like, oh, accidentally adding someone to a group chat that we've all done. Is he serious? Is he serious? Look at his face. He doesn't even believe what he's saying. That's the problem. That's why there's always this annoying false equivalency. There's no equivalency. Saying it's not a scandal when an active foreign agent who the journalist has to censor so that he doesn't dox her by mistake.
Is the new Watergate. The National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, his staff accidentally added an American reporter to a group text of Trump officials. who were discussing an attack on Iranian proxies. And the reporter accidentally added to the group text, wasn't a good guy. Wasn't like our very own stupid son of a bitch, Peter Doocy.
And happened to know the guys that told.
He wasn't a good guy because he reported that he was added to a group chat by mistake by by members of cabinet. Like, what do you mean by that? He's not a good guy. Oh no, I did the responsible thing by exposing this and leaving the chat. Well, he should have stayed there so they can arrest him and disappear him. He wasn't a good guy.
Total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine. Does very, very poorly. Now,
see, these are the hits that used to work in 2016. Doesn't work anymore, except for the most rabid supporters.
Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot, and I will tell you this: that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that.
Jeffrey Goldberg got the scoop of his life by accident because somebody may have fat-fingered him into a private chat. He says,
look at how Jesse Watters is so casually talking about leaders completely destroying the concept of security, Operation Security, as if it's just a church potluck. That's interesting to me. And he's saying, oh, Democrats are, he's about to say, oh, because they're gloating. They have the right to gloat. This is like the one thing that Democrats have, because Democrats hate to fight on the actual issues to help people, but in terms of process, they love process. They love the process. They love the idea of, let's call out rule breakers. You handed them a win. Democrats were doing even worse than Republicans because Democrats don't really want anything. And you just handed them a win for no reason. In fact, it's more likely they're going to mess it up because I don't know what's wrong with them at this point.
Failed magazine does very, very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this: that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that.
Jeffrey Goldberg got the scoop of his life by accident because somebody may have fat-fingered him into a private chat. He says on the group text, Hegseth shared war plans for the Houthi rebels. Pete says, no, I didn't. Classified material never entered the chat. So it's a he said, she said. Goldberg's the she. Yeah, he read some things he probably shouldn't have. It was an accident. Accidents happen when you're taking action. If you sleep,
I was muted. This is the problem with making a comparison. There's no comparison to be had. This is not a defensible thing to happen. There's no defense here. This is incompetence at the highest order, at the highest possible level. And what's worse is that this is the one person, these are the people who Trump was severely warned, they are not good enough for his cabinet. Pete Hegseth was warned. They warned that he wasn't good enough. They also warned about the lady. So it's, if you make your bed, you have to lie in it. You can't make your bed, then look at someone else and say, "Why did you make my bed that way?"
All day like Biden and take no action, well, that's a dereliction of duty. Mike Waltz says he has no idea how this dishonest reporter even got access to the chat.
This one in particular.
Dishonest reporter. Here we go again. The reporter who clearly exposed a truth, and he didn't make it up, but he's dishonest because, well, he left the group chat before it became a crime. That makes him dishonest. What was he supposed to tell the person who ran the group chat, the group admin? Oh, oopsie, you made a mistake. You added me. What would happen if we had added a foreign person, maybe a foreign dignitary that had a contact? Do you not understand how funny that? And this is why I keep saying these are not real people.
I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. President Trump took decisive action with his national security.
This deriding of President of Trump while there's an active scandal going on is just the icing on the cake. He can't even talk about the fact that they screwed up without saying, well, you know, we screwed up, we're big dummies. But President Trump, peace be upon peace and life on him. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to do.
Security team took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites, and for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome.
Later with Laura, Walt says he may have been catfished.
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name and then you have an...
So he's lying. He doesn't have a story. He's desperately trying to figure out an angle where he looks less incompetent than he is.
And then you have somebody else's number there.
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now, whether he did it deliberately or...
Yes, the classic, oh, he was pretending to be someone else. You don't think that's funny that he could pretend to be someone else in the group chat? The problem is that he was added. And if he was pretending to be someone else, why did the other person, who did he look like to you? I know you're going to say that's classified, because it's classified when it's time to answer questions, but not when it's time to face the music. You can't deal with these people. There's no bottom, there's nothing.
it happened and some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
Journalists like Goldberg will sometimes send out fake names with a contact with their cells to deceive politicians. Wall says Elon and Big Balls are on the case. This wouldn't surprise me if Goldberg sneaked his way in. He's the lowest of the low. This is the guy who reported that Trump didn't want to pay for a Gold Star funeral. Remember, he said it doesn't cost $60K to bury an effing Mexican. Total lie. Goldberg's the guy who
huh, nobody can find the story. So I'm actually going to chalk it up to, all right, I can't find the story, and everybody is quoting The Atlantic. I would have to dig deeper. The problem is this. That makes it worse, Jesse. You do get how that's worse, right? A quote-unquote problematic journalist, according to you. Like, this is the problem. Based on your yardstick, you're being weighed and found wanting.
Said that Trump called American soldiers suckers and losers. Lie. This guy's fine people, P-tape, can't trust him. Goldberg held this bombshell for a week and then dropped it the night before half the group chat was set up to testify on Capitol Hill. And they testified and said, yeah, we use Signal. Biden gave it to us.
One of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director.
Yeah, I don't think Biden was adding people to his group chat who weren't supposed to be there. Like, what is that defense? Like, your defense is we're using government tools wrong. Like, that's the defense, big guy.
Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
You think the CIA had anything to do with this? Who knows? But Biden staffers were on Signal. Every Democrat in D.C. uses Signal. Here's Jasmine, not to be confused with Davy Crockett, on Saturday.
We have all these Signal chats. If you don't have Signal, get on Signal, okay? Do not trust that. Get on Signal, y'all.
Democrats use Signal to deal with Christopher Steele, Mr. Dossier. Trump's team uses it to take out terrorists. And
take out terrorists, man. He's making stuff. He's doing this thing where he's trying to equate regular people and conversation, and of course the whole Capitol Signal chats. It's not the same thing as doing it on a private server, or supposedly private server, which is hacked by this amazing technical mind reporter. Wow, such hacking skills. He was added to the group chats without even asking to be there. Like, what amazing leaders.
now that's worse than the Pentagon Papers?
It's stunning. It's likely the biggest national security debacle that any professional could.
Anyway, I am kind of done. Maybe we'll pick this up tomorrow, maybe not. I gotta change my name from Dave Carter to just Cookie Cutter because these daily things are not possible. They're killing me.